Welcome back to part 2 of my triple test between the Canon, the D5 and my F4. Hope you enjoy. As I would expect, the Nikon D5 is up to its usual standard. The eyes are sharp, but could it be that the Canon colour is slightly richer? That's an interesting. Back to the Nikon, and the colours are flat again. Well, they're not flat, but not as vibrant, are they, as the Canon? And they're both as sharp. Interesting. And now let's see some portrait shots. Have you noticed one thing? I've got none from the F4. That's because I posted it. So while we're waiting, why don't we look at some pictures from the D5 and the Canon while we wait and wait. Yep, I'm starting to wish that I'd taken it to one of those high street 1 hour jobbies. The trouble is, when you do slide film, a lot of them can't do it and you actually have to send it away. This is where the problem is. Now, you can't really blame it on the camera, I guess. It's just the whole process and the whole experience, and we'll be getting to that later. But while we are waiting, I thought I'd have a closer look at the pictures that I've already taken from the Canon and the Nikon. So let's have a look at the jumping ones. Yes, not a lot of difference there, is there? They both look as sharp as each other. So let's get in closer. Let's have a look at that background. Now we can see with the Canon there is a little bit of noise in the background. In fact, quite a considerable amount of noise. And let's have a quick look at the Nikon. Yes, it's much softer, isn't it? Much less noisy. And now on to the portrait ones, just a couple. Okay, this is the Canon. Nothing wrong with that. Ignore the difference between the backgrounds. It's just that one was 2.8 and one was 5.6. Okay, they're really, really good, aren't they? Both the Canon and the Nikon, as I'd expect, are very good. Let's get closer. Okay, now this is when it starts breaking down. This is the Canon. It's very pixelated. It's pretty pixelated. Let's see what the Nikon's like. Yes, there's a lot more detail there. I mean, that is blown up considerably. It's blown up far more than you'd actually want it to be. But what you've got to remember is the difference between the prices. Now, for the Canon, I only paid £239. The Nikon is a 4.5, 5 grand camera. So, is it that much better? When you look at it, I don't think it is. Only when you get really close do you see the difference. And of course the lens is different. I've got a 1,500 quid lens on the Nikon and a 150 quid lens on the Canon. So when you start pixel peeping, it's probably not a fair comparison. But at standard picture sizes, they do compare well. Now, on with the scores. Got to give the Canon an 8 and I reckon the Nikon a 9. Only because of the pixel peeping. But when we start talking about pricing, I'm sure that will change. I know! I can't believe it either! They're finally here. So let's have a look at the prints first. Well, it looks like the negatives are a little bit battered. That's soft, but I guess it would be. We're never going to have it as sharp as the digital, are we? Let's be absolutely honest. That looks like it's been scratched. Well, it's pretty sharp, but there's an awful lot of noise or grain, as we used to call it. It's only a 200 film, remember. Here are the slides. The slides are much smoother. These are 100. Okay. They're very saturated, aren't they? Almost too warm. But the prints were washed out, almost too cold. Yeah, it's sharp enough. They're sharp enough. Oh no, 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 that's not sharp at all. That's not sharp at all. Is that shutter speed, technique, or just me not being used to the camera? You let me know what you think. Okay, let's do the scores. Well, the portraits were okay, a little warm. The jumping ones were, ooh, yeah, not so great. They were a little bit battered. Could that be scratched in the camera? Or could it be during processing? Oh, I hate to imagine that. Okay, score. It's going to have to be a 4. That's my gut feeling, and that's how I've been scoring the others. So that keeps it fair. Wow. That was some journey, wasn't it? Thank you so much for still being with me. I hope you're enjoying it. And don't forget, this is purely subjective. There's no science whatsoever. It's just my opinion and my feelings and my gut feelings. Let's have a quick look at the scores up to date so far. Well, I can see that the Nikon D5 and the Nikon F4, now S, are level at 31 points, with the Canon just behind on 28 points. I think we need to start doing the scores for the final section, don't you? And the final section is, of course, overall experience. Now, I've made copious notes along the way, but it boils down to one thing. Did I enjoy the journey? And that has to be to each camera. The F4, yes, I enjoyed the journey, but I'll always worry about the destination. The quality was a little bit disappointing, and I'm sure I can improve on that, but I'll always have that in the back of my mind. The frustration of waiting a week to get to see the results will always be there whenever I use it. And it's a bit like going to the dentist, isn't it? You may choose the best journey to take, the beautiful countryside, but when you know you're going to the dentist, you're still not going to enjoy it much. And I've got this horrible feeling the F4 is always going to be that for me. I'm always going to think, right, do I make the decision of sending it away and not seeing anything for a week? Or do I go and get a 1 hour jobby and see whether the results are as good as they maybe could have been? Do I do slide and wait even longer so the results are better? Do I use film and the results are poorer? It's going to be a decision. Digital, unfortunately, you take the shots, you get the immediate result, and we've got so used to it now. I've got used to it. So, but let's have a look at the scores. Let's start doing the scores for the overall experience. Okay, Nikon D5. The D5 can only ever do what it can do, which is very good. It does whatever it does very well. But it doesn't ever do more than you expect it to. It's nearly a £5,000 camera. So you expect it to be good. So the overall experience was very good, but I expected it to be good. So I've given it a 6. That may be harsh, you think, but it can only ever do what it does. The Canon exceeded all my expectations. It amazed me, the results of it. So I'm going to give that a 10. I'm going to give it a 10. And the poor old F4, it's got to be a 4. The engineering, the mechanics, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. The feel of using it, wonderful. But as I keep saying, the results and the long time it took to get them really, really put a shadow over the whole experience. So sorry F4. I tell you what, I wish I'd had it before. But let's rush now to the totals. The total is the Nikon D5 gets 37. The Canon has overtaken it with a 38. And then the F4S is now in third place with 35. Did you expect it to be so close? I certainly didn't. And I guess the other thing it comes down to is the cost. The thing is, as I just said, the Nikon, the D5, cost me 4,500. In fact, 4,499 because it was next display model. It has a £1,500 lens on it. And so did the F4 as a matter of interest. That's quite a lot of money, and you would expect good results from that, wouldn't you? I'm having to look it up because I don't believe it. The Canon, the cost was £239. I repeat, £239. Yes, it's a 1988 and a 2005 camera. But the photographs were pretty impressive. And bearing in mind the cost of the Nikon D5 is 94% more, were the photos 94% better? No, they weren't. And that's not including the lens. If I added the lenses, the percentage would be even bigger between the two. The lens I had on it, I'm just looking here. At £142 I bought the lens for. £142. So the F4 was £188. Then I had to pay £35 import duties, and then another £75 for the MB21 battery pack. The reason I mention that is because it actually affected the scores earlier on. So by the time you add all that together, it's about equal to the Canon. And has it produced the same results? I think I say again, I wish I'd bought the F4 earlier. 1988 is now too far distant to be able to compete with our cameras nowadays. Our cameras, our digital cameras are stunning what they can, as to what they can produce. And if I'd bought it 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I think I'd have been less disappointed with the results. I'm pleased I've got it. As I keep saying, it's the camera I always wanted, and now I've got it. I have no regrets on that. But I think it's going to go up there, and I may use it occasionally. It's probably not a fair playing field, but that is where we are. The pure joy of using it at the time was good. I had no idea what was going to happen afterwards, but the pure joy of using it at the time was fantastic. But the Canon deserves it. It's a 2005 camera. Think about that. 2005 camera, but as I said, £239. And look what it produced. Impressive. Very impressive. So, that's the test. Those are the results. I bet you weren't expecting them. I certainly wasn't. I've waffled long enough. I've taken up enough of your time. And thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like it. If you want to see some more, like the box opening of the Canon, the box opening of the Nikon, I will be doing some more tests. I will be doing an interesting test on this one about whether it's worth buying one of these or a cheaper new camera. Look out for that. And subscribe. Please subscribe, because then you'll get told when I put one of my new ones up. Thank you again for joining me. Take care.